is the Rugby Odds, where an unlikely pundit panel of a wordsmith, a WWE legend, a rugby star, and a supermodel scour the globe, seeking best bets and bad behavior. Are you not entertained? Okay, thank you. No, I don't deserve it. I was awful this week. More on that later. In the meantime, look in the sponsor opportunity green room. We have WWE Hall of Famer turned rugby advocate John Bradshaw Layfield, King Gift Egbelu, the inventor of words, world-renowned rugby coach Mike Friday, Steve Elevate-Rugby.com Lewis, Irish rugby legend George Hook, and we're all here because we're talking about what's on that your company name here slate. Let's get to the show. Not the greatest week. I basically killed us. I got the wooden spoon last week because I was absolutely awful. And you guys fortunately picked up the slack a little bit. We weren't great in our picks of the week, but Mike, you were stellar in your pick of the week. You went 1-0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Mike Friday's the best.
Mike Friday, take a bow, Mike.
That's been my top 40 in expertise.
That's right. If we can just get rid of you, Matt, bring in 2 cents rugby, we'll have a hell of a show.
That's right. I look forward to that time. But in the meantime,
we do too, and so do our 3 fans, all 3 of them that watch.
In the meantime, we're stuck together, fellas. So let's continue on as though we're getting along. With that, Mike, you also were the one guy that picked the one winning road team in the top 14. You picked Bayonne, and it ain't Bayonne, New Jersey, who has an opinion of John Bradshaw Layfield. Let's look at this. One, two. Well, not.
We're rugby guys.
One, two, three.
You suck.
One more time.
That's all I need is a bunch of swamp rats talking about me. Like I care a bunch of guys who aren't smart enough to get into middle school.
Those are the Bayonne Bombers you're talking about, pal, and the Morris
We
Greats.
used to wrestle there in Bayonne. You know what you get when you get the whole front row together? 1 set of teeth.
Fair enough, but they got a good rugby program going down there.
No, they don't. They're Bayonne.
All right, whatever. All right, so they kicked your ass. Anyway, I wanted to bring up something before we continue on with our new segment called Grown Ass Man. But first, I wanted to skip down because we were talking about this off camera, and I was getting annihilated by you guys. The Stormers and the Warriors playing in the sunshine, the heat, and the hot weather, unrelenting sun.
How hot was it, Matt?
At
How hot was
Stellenbosch University. And I'm thinking it was gamesmanship because they wanted the Scots to fry. And it backfired because the Warriors won.
In 83, no humidity. God, I wish that was. Give me that fry. All right. There's lobsters that are looking for that kind of fry.
So you guys don't think that should have been played at night?
No.
In New Orleans, they'd be wearing a coat in that weather.
You got a team coming down from Scotland. Totally.
That could be the dumbest analysis I've ever heard since last time you did some type of analysis when you said this team's got a lot of travel. They're going from Pretoria to Joburg.
Yeah, I made a mistake. I did. And, it's not going to be the worst analysis because I've got more coming in the show. But in the meantime, let's talk about what we noticed.
Why are you doing any analysis? You got Mike Friday here. Why are you even talking?
I was just about to go to Mike Friday. If you'd stop.
Why didn't you go to
interrupting
the start
me?
the show? The show sucks so far. No wonder we have no viewers.
Mike, what was an observation that you made on the weekend last week?
Well, I just thought the Premiership was decent. I think some of those results were decent. I mean, let's not talk about Exeter. I mean, they're up against it, but the way they were put away by Quins was phenomenal. Isgro scoring another spectacular try. The Argentinian that looks great in slow motion. And he
had one called back that he actually chip kicked.
And their back three were playing really good stuff, and they opened up Exeter too easily. And then again, looking at that Sarries Leicester game, which we'll probably touch on again, but that was a cracker of a game and a hell of a result for Leicester to get that win as well.
Absolutely. John.
Well, look, we all know Munster sucks. But Yeah,
But
they're
they
not any
sucked
good.
last year at the start of the season too. Remember that?
And they did at the end of the season as well. So
No, they were they were in
Bell
the
curve
final.
their wins.
Look at the difference between athleticism between Munster and the Hollywood Bet Sharks. It is a different level of game. That chip kick they had, they got a lucky bounce in this first half, but still, that was pure athleticism. Things tend to look lucky when you have athleticism like that. The difference in athleticism between the Sharks and Munster was just, it was a different ballgame. It's unbelievable. These guys down in the Hollywood Bet Sharks, if they put it together this year, they could win the league. They are that good. Now, we thought that last year, and they ended up having not a good season. They played only good at a couple times, but they put it together this past week. That's a good side down there.
Yeah, they played all phases of the game. 45 seconds in, Fossey had a match. 2 tries within 5 minutes. The second one by my Pimpy. Gift, what did you take away from the weekend?
Man, look, Mike doesn't want to talk about Exeter Harlequins, but I will. I think Harlequins might be the most exciting team in Premiership rugby. I said the weeks before, they suck at closing, but if they're able to close, they are a dominant and talented team. Obviously, we've talked Marcus Smith. That whole team is legitimately interesting to watch. It's like what we thought the Saracens would be, but, they're not. The other thing about them, it's just so fun. They look like they're genuinely just having fun. And I think by the second half of this season, I think we're going to see a really dominant Harlequins team really rise up the charts. Like Bath is going to be in trouble. I think Leicester I don't think Leicester's as talented as the Harlequins, but I think it's a young team that's really slowly coming together. And that was a great game. And the results were exactly it. Northampton continues to shoot themselves in the foot. They don't want to win a championship. They got happy before already.
What was interesting though was that all the England boys, the top 38 players were out this week, so it did shuffle the cards a little bit for all of them. But that threw up kind of some of the excitement that you've just talked about, Gift. But I think there's a few people, definitely Northampton, who have contributed quite a few to the England team, which would have been pretty pissed off if they had to play a league game this week.
And then we had the battle of the unbeatens between Leinster and the Lions. Leinster coming out on top, but got to credit Lions going into Dublin. And the way they shot that game, by the way, Aviva Stadium, they closed the top two decks, and they shot it. And you're watching on TV, and it looks like a packed stadium. It sounded like a packed stadium. That's the way you do it, MLR. Close the upper decks, or you just shoot the bottom.
But the problem is the MLR doesn't have packed stadiums. What are you going to do? Put up cardboard signs for people?
Video display seats.
Like COVID. Where are all
The
those
NBA.
COVID fan seats?
Mike, I don't know if you saw it or not. I want to put you on the spot, but did you see the Glasgow game? Were you surprised at that?
Very hot though down there, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Oh my
Two
goodness.
Brute?
Yeah.
What the Friday? All the announcers did was talk about how stifling the heat was for the guys in the unrelenting sun. But you three seem to think that it was as a picnic. All right, so let's rein it in. We got to move on, and we got an exciting new segment called
Grown Ass Man.
John. Why don't you tell us what the grown-ass man is?
The grown-ass man is simple. You got some big, tough guys in rugby, but some stand out. They are men among men, and as we call them down south, they are grown-ass men. And this segment is going to highlight those grown-ass men because there's nothing like big, tough rugby guys. There's some beast out there playing.
All right, we're going back 2 weeks for our first nominee, and that is Kieran Ryan of Munster, and he is just profusely bleeding. He gets tape, stays in the game. Nominee number 2 was also in that game. Of the Stormers, J.D. Schickering, the number 5. They pan off of Ryan, and there he is on one knee, bleeding profusely. And then number 3 was from this weekend for the Tigers. One of Mike's favorite up-and-coming players, the Australian, Izzy Parisi, the number 13, just absolutely bulldozed Toby Elliott of Saracens for a try. So, gentlemen, we have our consensus. And, John, who's our winner?
We had almost a unanimous choice. Parisi got it by all 3 people that had a brain. Matt did choose the Munster guy, but we all agreed getting your ass whooped and bleeding, that don't make you a grown-ass man. That makes you a victim. Wow. I guess you just threw Schickling under the bus as well with that comment. All right. Grown-ass man of the week, Izzy Parisi of the Leicester Tigers.
Congratulations, grown-ass man.
All right, let's hold it there. Let's bring in George and Steve and see what they have to say, and then we'll come back with you guys for picks after this.
If you're in New York City and want to watch some great rugby, have some great food, and some great times, go to the world's best rugby pub, the Pig and Whistle on West 36th Street.
And we're back, and once again, we have the pleasure of welcoming in Mr. George Hook and Mr. Stephen Lewis. George and Steve, welcome. George first, how are you and where are you?
Well, I'm in Dublin, Ireland, as my mother said, in God's time. So the clocks went back today for God's time. So there you have it. I got an extra hour in bed.
That's nice. Stephen, where are you?
I got 0 hours in bed. I'm in San Jose, Costa Rica. I had an overnight flight from Lima, Peru, where I was at the South American Sevens. So normally when you don't get much sleep, it's usually you've had a good time, not on this occasion.
Do you know the way to San Jose?
Intimately, on multiple forms of transport.
Okay, very nice. You look tanned and fit and rested, but that doesn't matter here. We are getting down to the business of rugby. And guys, something that you took away from the weekend. George, why don't you go first?
I don't think you can actually take something. This week, more than any week in the URC, it's some things. Like for Munster, they haven't lost 3 games on the trot for 9 years. So disaster, now in position 12. Edinburgh losing, now in 10th spot. Ulster 19 points clear at half time against Cardiff, lose. So, like, what we are seeing here, there's unquestionably, is not so much a changing of the guard, but perhaps an equalization of performance. But I tell you, Munster are now in a bad way, I would suggest. Manchester United, you Americans may not be interested, but Manchester United sacked their manager. Munster sacked their coach. This is Munster we're talking about here. You know, like if the Blind Asylum lose a match, then we're not going to blame the coach. But like we are talking about a team who has been in contention in the URC since its inception. A team with a history. They hire a guy from South Africa, R.G. Snyman. He looks awful playing for Munster. Common sense dictates he goes up to Leinster and he looks like God Almighty. Now, why is that? And that is because the environment is different. So it was a very long-winded reply to your question.
One could also argue, though, George, that the personnel throughout the roster is better at Leinster than it is at Munster. So the guy is playing with better players.
Yeah, but we're talking about 12, position 12, like. You're down with the dopes.
All right. Speaking of which, Stephen, what did you take away from the weekend?
Well, if you compare Munster, whose 2 fixtures were Stormers and Sharks away in South Africa, and they came away with nothing, as George has said. Conversely, Glasgow came away with 7 points.
Yeah.
With the equivalent fixtures, just reversed. So great weekend for Glasgow. That's a big win down there. You know, it was at Stellenbosch, actually. So beating the Stormers, good. Bonus point win. Edinburgh, 2 steps forward, 1 back. So 2 good results, and then this is another setback. Rather than equalisation, I think you're seeing the cream rising to the top. Leinster march on, Glasgow nipping at their heels. A couple of the South African teams, Lions and Bulls, with a game in hand, and then the rest at the moment. So I see this starting to be a bit of separation at the top.
Okay, gentlemen, before we go to your picks, and we'll just be picking from the international tests that are ahead of us with England versus New Zealand and Scotland versus Fiji. I wanted to get your take on something that was buzzing about the internet about professional leagues continuing throughout the international test window. And while the URC is shutting it down and the Premiership are shutting it down, the top 14 is still going. And people on the internet actually thought the Premiership was going, and it's not. But I wanted to get your takes. George, what's your take on that in terms of the fan?
Well, soccer gives us a good example here. Like, gives us a lot of help. When there is an international weekend in Europe and there are international matches, there are no league games for the first division clubs. They don't play league games. There's an understanding that, hey ho, we're going to be short a couple of players here. So I think the answer is fairly short. You can't seriously have a competition and of the quality of the URC and say this is hugely important. But hello, next week we're putting the B team out. I don't think that works.
And Stephen, the URC and the Premiership are shut down. But what if you're a top 14 fan?
Well, the French are completely different. In the French game, the club game is paramount. Okay, they are the primary employers of the players, and while they have they cooperate much more with the French union now, that's always been historically the case, right? Now, England is the one that seems to have the problem here. It's a club v country thing. If I'm a Exeter season ticket holder, yes, I would be pissed off. If I'm an England fan not associated with any of the Premiership clubs, I don't really care. So it just depends from where you sit. I think you're not going to not have the internationals. Players are jockeying for position, so they want to play in the internationals for the most part. Actually, probably one example, Johnny Gray, Bordeaux. Johnny Gray in Bordeaux, he's playing for a French club, have said he's not available for Scotland. But that's few and far between. So it comes down to club v country. It comes down to what is your personal priority. I think URC is a bit more sensible. They're not playing for a month, and then they are playing through the Six Nations.
All right, let's wrap it up, fellas. Instead of picking URC matches, I'm going to ask you to pick from the Autumn Internationals. Next weekend, we've got England versus New Zealand. New Zealand, 3.5-point favorites, and Scotland, 18.5-point favorites over Fiji. George, what do you make of that?
That's about right. I mean, England are simply not going to beat the All Blacks. Full stop. England think they're in a better place. The reality, we're going to find out, is they are not. And just Fiji, well, I mean, Fiji are now ranked wherever they're ranked. They're a junior team in the context of World Rugby. You'd expect them to lose to Scotland.
Stephen?
Yep. I think you have to look at recent activity. So obviously the All Blacks have had, 6-7 tests in the last 2 months. England are getting together. So the continuity side of things would favour the All Blacks in addition to the quality perspective. With regards to Scotland, Scotland haven't played tests per se, but their players have been much more active than the Fijians. Also, you've got yet another iteration of internal Fijian administrative nonsense where players are complaining about not being paid. It's not a happy camp. So unless Townsend experiments with some sort of low cap players and feels a sort of experimental 15, I think the 18.5 is about right.
All right, because we have to fix our records from last week because we were let down miserably by performance by Zebre and Munster respectively. George, you had taken Zebre, and Stephen, you had taken Munster. I took both of those teams as well, and we all lost. So
it means you're doubly wrong.
I was doubly wrong. You guys were only singularly wrong. All right, on that note, I want to thank Mr. George Hook and Mr. Stephen Lewis. We'll be right back after this. From New York City comes America's longest running and most popular rugby show. The biggest names in Major League Rugby, MLR highlights, and big match previews. Rugby Wrap-Up presents MLR Weekly, made in New York City. Hey, U.S. fans, you can tune into every match live on Flow Rugby. How do we know that? Because we're on there all the time. And we are back. And guys, before we pick our top 14 matches, we're going to go to the international test matches. But ladies and gentlemen, on the top 14, these spreads are early in the week. We don't know who's with the squad. We don't know who's being rested for international tests. So we reserve the right to change when the spreads come out later in the week.
So you're saying our show's information is worthless. No wonder people watch 2 cents rugby over us. He's good. He's really good, by the way. Hey, by the way, call us. Call me, Gift, and Mike. Mike's a Hall of Fame coach. Gift's a king, and I'm a good guy. Call us.
You are
son of a bitch right there.
You are everything but a good guy, okay? Number one. Number two.
Call us.
Okay, let's pick the international test. We'll do a little round robin here. We'll start with John. John, England hosting New Zealand. New Zealand, the favorites, by 3.5. Who do you like?
There's a battle for supremacy in world rugby right now, and it's all occurring, in my opinion, in the Southern Hemisphere, and includes Argentina now. I don't think England right now should probably be in the top 5. I love their big 3 guys, always have, but give me New Zealand to go into England and win this.
Gift.
I'm with the champ, man. Look, the Southern Hemisphere is doing their job up again. I mean, they've been doing their job. New Zealand is not as strong as they used to, but they got something to prove, and now they got the 20-minute red card on their side. England's probably going to be hating it. Yo, let's go with New Zealand to cover the spread and be able to get the close win in the first half and then destroy them in the second one.
Mike, you just flew all the way back from Los Angeles to England. You can't pick against Mother England, can you?
Nah, I think England will more than cover it. I think England will win it. I think they've been close games the last times they've been at Twickenham's a draw, a couple of three pointers, but I think the Kiwis are struggling. I think the England pack, if he gets that pack right, I think they've got the capability. And I think England to win at home.
Who got to you, Mike? Who got to you? They got to you. You just blink a couple of times if you need our help, Mike.
They said, I will take your 7th cap away if you go against them.
I'm gonna have to go with the idiots. No offense, guys. I'm gonna go with New Zealand as well. Let's talk about Scotland hosting Fiji. What's the spread there? That's 18.5. Johnny, who do you like in that one?
Look, Fiji put it on America, but America's men's 15 couldn't beat Sri Lanka right now, so that's not really important. Look, I think Scotland is emerging, and I think they're trying to get up into the top 6. I think they have a real chance of doing that. They need to put it on Fiji, and they play really well at home. Give me the Scots to cover the total.
Gift, who do you like?
Look, I'm always an advocate for Fiji to be able to do what they do, but there's always something about Fiji once they get on the road. They get really homesick away from the island, and it becomes kind of an iffy give or take. Scotland's a long distance from Fiji, and 18.5 points feels like a lot. So this is probably one of those. Scotland shows up, does not cover the spread. I think Fiji will beat the spread on that one, but I do think Scotland wins.
Mike, who do you like?
I quite like the bloke who did the spread because I think he's pretty close. He's got it pretty nailed on. I'm not sure. I think Scotland will win it, but I agree with Giff. I don't think they'll cover the spread. I think the Fijians have got too much, and it will be cold up there. But I think the Fijians will be reasonably organised, and I think they'll push them.
It might be a little cold. The weather might be a little. All right. In that case, I'm going with Scotland to cover that 18.5. No problem.
The Fijian back row will look like the Irish back row, all Pacific Islanders.
All right, let's shift to the top 14. John, who do you like in the top 14?
People, if they can just watch this backstage, how long this takes to get 30 minutes of content, because you don't have the ability to speak English, and I don't care anything about French rugby, so I'm going with whatever Mike Friday says.
Mike, who do you like in the top 14?
I'm gonna go for Bayonne to do a job on Toulouse. I think it's a 4.5 point spread at the moment. I think the Toulouse will rest all of their French internationals, and I think Bayonne they're decent and they'll get over the line and some.
Le Gift.
Yeah, look, man, I don't believe in top 14. I don't like it at all because they don't want me to care because they don't care about playing on the road. But since we got to make a pick for the first time in like 6 weeks that we've had to do this, I'm going to go with Racing 92 to completely flop out against POW because I don't think they deserve to have their name said. 7.5 points sounds about right since Racing 92 will bring their 3rd squad since crossing slightly across the town is going to be too hard for them. So, yeah, let's go with that one. There's a reason why Sia Khaleesi had to leave.
I can't believe the French don't like Americans after listening to you guys.
What are our metrics? How many French fans actually watch this show? My over-under is on 1.
This is also a sports gambling show where we're giving value to people. So that's if we pick
The
them
value
right.
is don't vote, don't bet on the top 14.
The value again, I'm going to take Papignon minus 11.5 versus Van. And on that note, guys.
Well, that was dramatic. That was like captivating.
Yeah, that was great. This is going to be cut out of that segment.
You're cutting yourself out?
All right, now let's take a quick break, and we'll be back with the picks of the week after this. You need your cleats? You need them tomorrow? If you order today by 3 p.m. New York time or noon LA time, they can have them to you tomorrow. Young, old, male, female, if you're playing on turf, if you're playing on grass, if you're playing in the rain, you're playing in the heat, they've got you covered. RugbyNow.com. Go there now. And we're back, and of course, it's that special time of the show, John Bradshaw Layfield's favorite time of the show, Picks of the Week. Johnny, who do you got?
I'm going to go with the King Gift Egbelu and the legendary Coach Mike Friday. I think that this game is going to be closer than what they expected. I did go with Scotland, but I think the only chance Fiji has is to score a lot of points, and I think with Finn Russell, Scotland can score a ton of points too. Give me the over in this game.
Gift.
We already watched the women for England versus New Zealand already dominate that New Zealand team twice in the same month, basically. And now we get the men coming through to be able to bring compensation. I think this is going to be the crowd size that's going to actually max out Twickenham Stadium, 82,000. I think it's fully packed out. That is the side prop bet that I believe in, 82,005.
Mike, who do you like?
Right, so I'm going to try and pick the away winner for the top 14. Try and give a little bit of value.
You're on a tear. You're on a tear.
So I am going to go for, it's going to upset Giff, I'm going to go for Racing 92. I think they could be the team that, I definitely think they'll cover the 7.5, but I think they'll get the win. Brave.
Belief in them putting a squad together that matters.
Very, very.
Long live Faz. Long live Faz. Long live Faz.
All right, and I'm going to follow John's path, and I'm going to say the over in the England versus New Zealand match. I think it's going to be a track meet. I think it's over 55 points combined. And just like that, we're out of time. Thank you to WWE Hall of Famer turned rugby advocate John Bradshaw Layfield, King Gift Egbelu, the inventor of words, world-renowned rugby coach Mike Friday, Steve, Elevate-Rugby.com Lewis, and Irish rugby legend George Hook. And thank you for tuning in. Please check out our other programs. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Sign up for our weekly newsletter. Hey, tell your friends about us. It won't kill you. And please, if nothing else, sign up for our American Red Cross blood donor team.